So we test a lot of smartphones at TechLekh. I use the S10 Plus as my daily driver, and currently I'm testing the Cubot Nova 4, and maybe in 2 weeks time I'll be testing the Samsung Galaxy S10. But most of the people cannot afford these kind of smartphones, and most of the people don't even need that kind of power. So today in this video I'll be taking a look at the phone for most of the people out there, those who just need a functional phone at an affordable price. So this is the Cubot Nova, and I've been using this phone for more than a week. So without further ado, let's dive into its full review. So right when you pull the Nova out of the box, you realize that this is not a fancy phone. The form factor of the phone fits nicely in your palms, but the back feels plenty cheap. However, I like the minimalistic design though, considering that this phone cost only Rs 16,000. There are no extra flashy design elements, a power and volume button lie on the right side, a micro USB and a headphone jack on the top, and the symmetrical speaker grills are the only thing you'll find at the bottom. Also, the metal frame of the phone makes up a little for the cheap feeling plastic back. Now enough about the aesthetics, let's talk about how it feels while using it in hand. So I've used plenty of big phones, and I think that using this phone in a single hand won't be an issue. It is quite comfortable and you don't need to fear out slipping this phone while using it single-handedly. Now talking about the security, you do not get the face unlock, but you do get an fingerprint sensor, and it works quite fine. However, it is not that fast, but it gets the job done. Once you unlock the phone and move around the UI, you'll notice two things. First, the phone vibrates like crazy every time you touch it. So just change the vibration settings, the phone will be much more tolerable after that. Now the second thing you'll notice is the janky UI. I expected a bloat-loaded Android version on this phone, but I was surprised with the clean version with what looks like an Android One OS. However, surprisingly, navigating the UI is not so smooth. Like when we bring up the app drawer, the device stutters for no reason, but it did not stutter or lag within the apps though. The apps loaded quickly enough and run smoothly. I did not notice any other glaring faults with the performance of this phone. However, we cannot say that the performance will remain consistent after users continue loading it with more apps in the future. Now next thing you'd want to know about the Cubot Nova is its camera. So Cubot Nova has a single 30-megapixel camera on the back, and to be honest, I was not expecting too much out of this camera. But it clicks decent pictures in daylight, and of course you cannot really complain about the highlights, dynamic range, or even about the shadows at this price tag. But at least the pictures from these phones do not look washed out. For example, in this shot, Nova did a good job with the blue wall, and this bike does look pretty great here in this photo. Now here are some other pictures that you click with this phone. While the color reproduction is good enough, this phone cannot handle even the least amount of shaking. You will get a blurry shot every 2 or 3 clicks, and if you have a shaky hand, you probably won't be able to get a single good shot with this phone at a single try. But what surprised me with this phone was the video quality. I did not expect it to be this good, seriously. But this does not mean that it is an amazing video camera, but at this price tag, I have seen worse. So, example, in this video, I am just walking around the deer walk. The pavement is slightly bumpy, but the recording came out pretty smooth. The colors are a little bit off though, but other than that, it's a decent video. Now let's move on to the things that we haven't talked about. The screen is an HD Plus IPS LCD display. It gets pretty bright, and I had no problems using the phone in direct sunlight. Now talking about the speaker, it is a bottom firing mono speaker. The right grill at the bottom is for the speaker, and the left one is probably for the mic. Now this speaker gets plenty loud, but the sound starts to get teeny at around 75% volume. So watching YouTube content on this phone is not that enjoyable, but it's doable. Now the glaring issue of the smartphone is its horrendous charging time. It takes at least 2 hours to go from 0 to 100, and there is no noticeable fast charging. So if you're coming from a phone that charges quickly, you'll feel that this phone is a slug when it comes to charging. But this phone makes up for slow charging with its very good battery life. The standby time is amazing. I actually left the phone locked for 3 hours while connected to Wi-Fi, and the battery dropped by only 2%. And then I left the phone for 1 hour video loop test, and the battery dropped by only 15%. So extrapolating the results, you get more than 6 hours of continuous YouTube playback on Wi-Fi with 50% volume on a full charge on this device. But your mileage may vary considering how many apps you have running in background, and the battery life may worsen with the age. But right now, this phone has a very good battery life. So that sums up our review for the Cubot Nova. For a not that known brand, I think it does a pretty decent job. I like the minimal design, the screen is fine, the camera is decent, the performance is not that bad, not that good, the speakers are bad, but the battery life is amazing. And the features like 4G dual SIM support and dedicated microSD slot are crowd pleasers. But can it compete against the likes of Redmi 6A? I don't think so. But if Cubot Nova can fix its performance issue with future updates, I think it can be a very viable option. So that's it for the full review of Cubot Nova, and as always, like if you liked it and also subscribe to our channel for further contents like this, and also hit that bell icon to get notifications. Until next time, namaste.